All right, welcome in Gun Talk Nation. This is a part 2. If you missed part 1 with Tom Gresham, go backwards in time. No, just look back for probably the previous week, and you'll find part 1 of Talking with Tom. So
who you calling backwards?
Yeah, go backwards. We said last night, all you have to do is build yourself a DeLorean, invent time travel, go back. Do nothing to mess it up, because then your arm will start disappearing
in the pictures.
And we are off track already. Wow. This is Gun Talk Nation. It's a podcast sometimes about guns. Tom Gresham is here to talk about that subject matter now.
Because that's what I do on the radio.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Gun Talk Radio. How many years are they still letting you do this?
27 years, and they still haven't figured it out yet. So they're letting me get away with it. So far, so good. Yeah, 27 years for that. Crazy.
It is crazy.
We were the first podcast about guns, because we were putting it up before there was a podcast, before there was an iPod.
Tell them. So, yeah, because we go, well, oh, you do a podcast now. Right.
Yeah, I've been doing that for 2 decades.
We put our show on the internet,
right?
What we called it. We're going to put it on the internet.
I got contacted by a guy named Dave Reiner. Contacted me after I first started doing the show. He says, you ought to put this on the internet. And I'm thinking, well, first of all, okay, yeah. I mean,
you mean the World Wide Web?
I created the guntalk.com website early on. It was like early days of World Wide Web.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, yeah, that'd be great. I have no idea how to do that. Dave said, well, I know how to do that. He worked for a telephone company. He understood like real audio was the format.
Mm-hmm.
Forget MP3s, all of that.
Yeah.
So this is how far back this was. So I do the show remote, and we've got a studio in another part of the world. Jim Kinsey is doing that. And he would record the show, as he does now, and then he would record it onto a CD, right?
A CDR.
Yes, CDR. And then he would have to mail the CDR to Dave in California, where Dave would then rip it, because there was no emailing.
We couldn't email an audio file at that point.
No,
yeah.
None of that. And then so like 10 days later, he would rip it and he would upload it. And we had Gun Talk on the internet long before podcasting ever got started.
Yeah. So it helps to be good, but it also helps to be first.
We've been first on a lot of things, sometimes a little bit too first.
Yeah, we
were a little ahead of things.
We've been too ahead of it sometimes. I forgot to do this part. This Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Franklin Armory and ATN Optics. So last part 1 of this, we said we're going to do story time. Okay. And think of stories over the years, and kind of, because it's stuff that you and I have talked about over the years, and it's going back to my grandfather, your dad Grits, stories from you, stories from me, because we've been doing this gun media thing for decades, for generations, and then you just have stories that come about.
I think Grits started writing about this in 1945.
Wow.
Yeah, right after World War II, when he got out. He spent a little bit of time as a wildlife manager, and
he was wildlife biology, right?
Yeah, wildlife biology. He has masters in wildlife management, and then started writing about it. And so, yeah, this family has been doing this for a long, long time. So yes, we have stories, and some of them make print, but a lot of them don't. They're just kind of, you remember that old time kind of thing. Right. You pass those along.
So one of the things that we were talking about before this, and kind of stories to tell, we get to see all the new stuff, and people know that, right? Oh, you get the new stuff. You got the new Ruger. You got the new Smith & Wesson. Well, for better or worse, we've seen the new stuff for 60 years.
Right.
And so you have some memorable kind of fun ones that either were just fun or they didn't stick or whatever. I mean, one which is not a gun thing, but it was a piece of gear for hunting, the wind-up clock horn thing.
This was something that some guy made at Grits had. All right, got to
go out hunting.
Got to set your time. We're talking 40 years ago.
Right.
No cell phones, no GPS.
Right.
You go out in the woods and you get lost. Where did I leave the truck? I don't even know which direction the truck is, right? This guy says, got an idea. So he has this wooden box, and it's got a wind-up clock in it. Wind it up. It's got wires that come out, and he would wire it into the horn of your truck.
Wow.
And just like an alarm clock, at a certain time, it goes off and it would blow your car horn or your truck horn for 30 seconds.
Okay.
And then it would blow it for 30 seconds every 15 minutes.
Oh my God.
After that, with the idea that you could listen and go, truck's over there.
I hear the truck. Where is it?
Yeah.
So you just plan it. You're like, I plan on getting lost in 5 hours from now.
Or you're just hedging your bets. It could happen. If I do get lost,
I'm gonna be walking out of the woods in 5 hours.
And anybody who's done a lot of hunting and has not been lost is lying. Because I mean, just even if you're just duck hunting out on a lake in the fog,
yeah,
we've been there.
Oh yeah,
Black Lake. Remember that?
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't see.
Yeah, no, I couldn't see the end of the boat.
You couldn't see the end of the boat. So you're just kind of putt-putting going,
I know there's a shore over there, and if I hit it, I don't want to be going fast.
Yeah. Jay, I don't know if I told you this story. We went a few years back up to Oklahoma on a deer hunt, and this is KJ's land, KJ's family land that we go to sometimes. And he knows where everything is.
Right.
And he's like, oh, this is super easy. We're staying at this little camp. We're just going to leave the camp and just walk from there to this box blind.
Okay.
Okay. He goes, it's super easy. And we had been to it in the daylight the day before, but we go out at, I don't know, whatever it was, 5 o'clock in the morning, pitch dark, middle of nowhere, and just walk that way. We're trying to have light discipline, right? We're like, okay, we don't need to put on flashlights and all this stuff. So we just
walk in the dark.
We just start walking. We're like, we know it's this general direction. Jason and the camera guy are walking.
You can't miss it.
You can't miss it. I literally, KJ definitely said that. He definitely said that. We're walking. We're like, man, this is far. This is not this far.
It's farther than I remember.
But maybe it's just because it's dark and whatever. We walk and walk and walk. We walk into a fence that we weren't supposed to cross a fence. Now we're like, wait a minute.
Who put this fence here?
And we happen to have actually ATN thermal with us for spotting and stuff. And was like, wait, let me fire up the thermal and let me look around. And was like, I still really didn't know where we were. It was like, I think maybe it's this direction. It must have taken us a full 45 minutes to do a 5-minute walk. Yeah. By the time we got there, the sun was coming up. Deer were there.
We're late.
We were late. We were sweating.
Oh, geez.
It was like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. You get lost in the woods. It happens.
You do. You know, one thing you don't want to do if you get turned around, or you don't want to take shortcuts in the mountains, you want to go back down the mountain the same way you came up, because if you go a different way, sometimes there'd be cliffs there. Yeah. You can get yourself into a really ugly situation. So be really careful in the mountains.
Get cliff stranded.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were talking about weird or fun products. Cuts compensator.
Cuts compensator.
And a lot of people know that one, right? I mean,
some do, some don't. I mean, you have to be a certain age to have even heard of a cuts compensator. It was the early choke tube and muzzle brake on a shotgun.
All in one.
All in one. Hideously loud. It looked like you had somehow screwed a potato on the end of your gun, your shotgun. And then they had cuts in it, hence the cuts compensator. It was a compensator.
Reduce recoil. Did it reduce recoil?
It did reduce recoil. And
usually
then at the end of it,
nasty and loud, it usually works.
And the end of it, you had screw-on choke tubes that looked goofy and kind of almost worked. But if you really wanted to make yourself unpopular, you showed up at a trap field. With that, where the people are like next to you on either side. Yeah. And this thing is blowing out gas on either side.
Extra loud.
They really didn't like you to be on their squad when you're shooting a cuts.
Yeah.
That was that. But what about scope mounts?
Scope mounts. And scopes. There's been weird things with that. So, and I don't know. I want to say it was maybe Weaver, but the see-through scope mounts.
Oh yeah. For the terminally undecided.
They're extra high, but they have a hole.
Yes, you can see your iron sights, and then the scope is mounted high above the iron sight. So the scope is mounted way up there. Yeah. Where you've got leverage and cantilevering and all that, so they can really wobble. And, but the worst part of it for me was that you had, when you needed to make a shot, you had to make a decision in the middle of that of what you were going to use, iron sights or scope.
You throw the gun up, you mount it what am I doing?
And of course, the scope is now mounted so high, you can't possibly put your cheek on the gun, on the comb of the gun,
Stock,
because you'd be looking at your iron sights underneath. So you got to lift your head up to see through the scope, which makes it very slow, which is one of the reasons people said, well, scopes are very slow. Well, they are when you mount them like a mile over the barrel.
Yeah. And then the scope that was the wide view scope.
Well, that's because everything was cool and TV was cool back then in the 50s, 60s, whenever that was. I think it was Redfield. Came out with the wide field. It looked like a TV screen, kind of rectangular scope.
So it was wide field, but except that really, how do they achieve that?
You just cut off the top and the bottom.
Yeah,
right.
You just don't let them see
you
round scope.
You don't get the whole view, but it looked pretty cool. So the old red field, wide field thing, and that's, there was a time a lot of times in the 60s when there were a lot of things introduced very rapidly. Remington brought out a lot of products, a lot of cartridges that didn't go anywhere, and they screwed up the naming on a lot. The famous 280 Remington, one of the great cartridges of all times. Screwed it up, renamed it to the 7mm Express, actually for a very brief time called it the 7mm 06, which it really wasn't.
Wow. But it wasn't derived from 30-06.
It was a 30-06 neck down, but they moved the shoulder forward slightly.
Oh, okay.
It's like there's a whole bunch of stuff. And it's a shame because the 280 was and is a good cartridge. And of course, it's been kind of resurrected and saved by the 280, actually improved now.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people know.
Lots of fun stuff. Real quickly, one of the companies that makes this show possible is Franklin Armory, and one of their new products, or still new for the year, is the GS-17-3. A lot of big name, GS-17-3. But basically, what this is it fits Glock Model 17 Gen 3s, and more models are on the way. And it's a way to get a binary trigger on a Glock. But it's kind of the whole kit with the slide and the selector and all that stuff. So that's kind of an interesting deal with the binary trigger. You pull the trigger, gun goes bang. You release the trigger, the gun goes bang. But you can cancel that release round.
Right.
It's interesting. It's fun. It's something they're doing. The kit includes the slide with an optics cut and the trigger. So you're ready to go there. So you can find out more at franklinarmory.com. Springfield Armory has a new gun, the Prodigy, and this is a nice one. It's a 1911 double stack.
I was just in the other room looking at it.
Did you?
Holy cow.
The thing that I've said on this is it feels like it should be more expensive to me. It's just the fit and finish of this sucker is really nice. Performance driven feature set, obviously optics ready. They have a 5-inch and a 4.25-inch version. 17
round, 20 round, and 25 round.
Yeah, magazines. So double stack. It's not too chunky for me. I find some of those double stack 1911s can be pretty chunky, but this isn't too bad. But it's a pleasant gun to shoot.
About half the price of the going double stack 1911s right now.
Yeah, it's a heck of a deal. So check that out over at Springfield-Armory.com. So we were talking about ammo, bullets, loads, stuff over the years that caught on or didn't catch on. There's been some interesting ones. The accelerator loads. Yeah.
And you still have some of those.
We still have some, and they're
almost collector item.
They are. I don't want to shoot them now,
right.
But
well, it was a Sabo load. Now people say Sabot, S-A-B-O-T, Sabo load. And they would take a 308, I think 308, 30-06, and 30-30, all 30 calibers, and then put a 22 caliber bullet in it.
Yeah.
With a plastic Sabo over it and seat it into the case. The idea being, let's make your 30-06 a varmint rifle. So now it's a 22-250.
Now you're shooting a 55 grain bullet.
Yeah, and getting like close to 4,000 feet per second out of it.
Yeah.
And that part worked. You did shoot a 55 grain bullet, and it did go almost 4,000 feet per second. Nobody talked a lot about accuracy.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't.
Yeah.
But
is it hard? Is it inherently hard to make a Sabo round accurate? It seems weird. You got that plastic sleeve around a bullet.
It's a complication.
Yeah.
It adds stuff because when it comes out of the barrel, that plastic sabot has to peel away from the bullet without disturbing the bullet.
Right.
Of course, now that's very common in muzzleloaders. That's
Sure.
that's a standard deal.
Standard deal.
And shotguns. You got some incredible sabot loads for deer hunting and shotguns. I mean,
Yeah,
we're talking 200 yards with a 20 gauge.
Right. You have a rifled barrel for your shotgun, a sabot load. You have a scope on the
Right.
on the shotgun. 200-yard deer gun.
But Remington was ahead of things often too much. They were very innovative. You know, they had that. They had one of the first electronic ignition systems, which are incredible. If you've ever shot one, we don't pay attention to lock time. When you pull the trigger, the mechanism has to go, the sear has to break, the spring has to go forward. When you shoot an electronic gun, it just goes off and you pull it, you go, wow, that was like fast.
Yeah.
And then you start to think, yeah, those other old style guns are slow, but I think they were too early or something, because that never went anywhere either.
It happens. I mean, the new products, and we see new stuff that comes out even today. I mean, there was one that was like the handy racker.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going, stuff gets sent to us. And what in that you attach this contraption onto the slide of the gun to help you rack the gun.
Well, it was a solution in search of a problem.
Yeah.
You know, or as many times happens, let's provide a technological solution to what is actually a training issue.
Sure.
You know, I can teach almost anybody to rack a slide on a pistol.
Well, nowadays you've got the manufacturers are saying, okay, fine, we'll give you the Shield EZ.
Oh yeah.
Or Ruger has the light rack.
And that's actually a very good application of technology to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you know, we can use lighter springs. The gun still runs. It's easier for you to manipulate it, because most of the times it is a training issue of running the slide on a semi-auto. There are times when someone just physically can't do that with maybe a standard, you know, a big 45 that has a strong spring.
Yeah. The other thing we're seeing right now is in ammunition, rifle ammunition, is low recoil loads.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is, if we could put aside our macho tendencies, a lot of people would be better off shooting low recoil loads. Not just kids, not just women.
Mm-hmm.
They work just as well on animals. I mean, if you take for instance, took a 7 mag and you shot a low recoil load in that, now you're shooting a 7x57 Mauser, which has killed everything literally on the planet that walks the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And it kicks less, and you're going to shoot it better.
It's not. Yeah, I mean, you're going, okay, it's going as fast as other rounds that are just as effective.
Right. It might be 200 feet per second less, but it is a noticeable difference in recoil, which makes it easier to shoot it well. And as we've talked about before, when you shoot it well, you put the bullet in the right place, and that's the key to anchoring your trophy animal.
That's the key. After this quick break, I want to talk about gun culture overseas and what some of the stories and things we've seen with that. We've got a couple companies that are also part of this show: ATN Optics, thermal, night vision, day and night vision with digital night vision kind of stuff. They also have hearing protection now, and it's the X-Sound hearing protector. These are electronic muffs, but really nice stuff. I mean, Bluetooth wireless technology, ultra low power consumption, an audio input jack, 2 high frequency omnidirectional microphones. You've got volume knob, and you can pair it to your smartphone, make calls, listen to music, that kind of thing. You can use it when you're shooting. You won't miss calls that come in. You could also use it on your lawnmower. I mean, so you could make calls and,
Sure.
and not miss stuff, because we're so attached to our phones these days that it's like, unacceptable to miss a call. Anyway, check that out over at atncorp.com. Also, Sig Sauer, and Sig doesn't tell me what to talk about on these. So I just picked something that I think is cool. The P210 Target.
Oh, yeah. One of the best shooting pistols of all time.
It
was great when it was made in Germany. And the reality is it's actually even better now that it's made in America.
Yeah, and now you can get it because
and now you can get it. But the trigger is sublime. It's so good.
It is a full size, single stack, 9mm, crisp target trigger. This one, the target model, has walnut target grips, has a nice palm swell to it. It's a shooter. I mean, this is a gun that, I mean, people use in serious competition.
It's one of those that until you shoot it, you don't understand how good it can be. And you shoot it and you just go, I don't know why, but I think I have to have this because I love shooting this gun.
I'm actually looking at the details. 1947 Swiss predecessor was where it started, and now they've kind of updated it.
It's been around forever.
So you can find out more over at SIGSAUER.com, the 210 target. I know that, it's funny because companies, and now we're not doing the commercial break anymore. Now we're just talking about guns again, although we never stopped talking about guns.
It's like we just talk about guns. We get up in the morning and start talking about guns.
Yeah. Companies push the new. They push the new stuff.
Yeah.
And then you
as I said, no one ever came up and said, hey, what's old?
Yeah. So there's stuff that's still in the line that's still great that it just doesn't get talked about that much.
Well, in all lines, I mean, you look at the SIG, the P226, been around forever kind of thing. Springfield Armory, 1911s. Just every company has those. And we all get caught up in the new. We all want the 6.5, whatever it is, right?
Yes.
When in fact, KJ was just out at a long range class shooting a 270 Winchester.
Yeah, just for funsies. Yeah. There's more to come on that. There's some stories there.
As expected. Okay. Yes, the newer long range cartridges are better when you get way out there, but out to realistic hunting distances, the old 270, it's been around since 1925, pretty good cartridge.
And then we like the older designs because it's just the mechanisms and all that. Think about the lemon squeezer, Smith & Wesson revolver.
Yeah.
You have basically a grip safety built into a revolver.
Right.
And then one that Ruger doesn't talk about as much now that I still like a lot is the LCR as a revolver.
One of the nicest revolver trigger pulls out there. Yeah.
It's really nice. And it's a polymer frame. It's lightweight. It's a kind of a modern carry revolver.
Get it in the 327 Federal. You got 6 shots that have 357 Magnum power in this little revolver with 6 shots. So you're not like limited to 5 shots like you are with a lot of snubbies.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I said we were going to talk about gun culture in other countries. And it's something that absolutely exists out there. And you've traveled a bit and doing some hunts and shooting and all that stuff.
It's there, but it's different.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, in Europe, when we go to Nuremberg, go to the EWA show, which is the SHOT Show in Europe, and you talk to people in other countries, they go, yeah, we love to hunt. We love to shoot. But there'll be, for instance, countries where they say, okay, you're limited to 3 guns.
Right.
That's what you can own. Well, then what they do, they say, okay, we'll come up with a solution to that. The Blaser rifle.
Yeah, the R8.
R8, where you can have interchangeable barrels.
And you can go from, I want to say it's 17 HMR all the way up to, I don't know, 338 Lapua or something crazy.
Something huge. Yeah. Just swap it out barrels. So you're still within your 3-gun limit, but you have all these calibers that you can shoot.
Well, it's also when you're limited to 3 guns or whatever the number is in whatever country you're in. If it's 5, it's 3, it's whatever. Now you go, well, yeah, I will buy a $10,000 shotgun.
Good point.
Because it's the only shotgun I'm going to own.
Yeah. Unlike us, where you say, I need another safe. And it may be that you already have 1. It may be you already have 3.
Right.
Okay. So take however much you spent on all those guns, say now you can only buy 3 or 5 guns and put that much money into it. You're willing to pay $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 for a gun. Something
that, and really those higher end shotguns, they really are built where you can shoot 1 million rounds through this gun.
Well, and a lot of those are, we say 15,000, a lot of them are $100,000.
Sure. Yeah.
But yes, there is a level. It's like I was talking to, I'm not going to name him, but famous gunsmith in this country who really works on some really nice, like Febreze and things. And I said, I really want to get a nice shotgun. This is some years back. I said, I was thinking about getting a Beretta over and under. Those are really nice. He says, yeah, those are nice entry levels.
Right.
We're talking about a $4,000 or $5,000 gun.
Yeah.
In his world, where they're buying $100,000 shotguns, that's a nice entry level.
Yeah.
There's a level out there that most people are not even aware of. The Purdy's, the Bosses, the Fabris, the
Holland and Holland.
Hollands, yes. So when the guy at Holland, I was making a joke. I said, well, it'd be nice if you guys had a left-handed one. He said, oh, here's a left-handed 28 gauge. I said, really? And I flip it over to look at the price tag. It was $128,000
for a gun.
For one shotgun. Ooh. I just gently handed it back to him. Please take this away from me now.
Yeah, I don't want to be holding this now. I remember a guy had this really crazy car, like tricked out, $150,000 Corvette special order thing. He was the nicest guy. He's like, "You want to take it for a drive?" No, I don't. No,
no.
I don't think I'm going to do anything stupid, but there's a lot of other cars on the road.
I'm not going to lean against your car.
Yeah.
For nothing.
I'd love to, but on a closed course, maybe.
Yeah, maybe slowly around the parking lot. Yeah, I don't know. Can you put like rubber bumpers on it?
But what is a high-end gun? What's the difference? I mean, because somebody's go, why would you even pay that much money?
Yeah. And for most people, they won't be able to really appreciate it and tell the difference. But if you're a really good shooter, something like a Fabry, $100,000 and up, as you say, for one thing, it'll shoot 1 million rounds.
Yeah.
If you're a serious competitive shooter, they just keep running. Another is that if you just love, it's kind of like buying a super high-end car. It'll get you to the grocery store just like the other ones. Mm-hmm. But you love being in it. You love the feel of it. This gun, when you open it, when you close it, it just feels fabulous. Obviously, at that level, you're getting them fitted to you with a high-end gun fitting, so it really works for you. There's a pride of ownership there. But clearly, it's like, okay, if you can't afford that, then don't do that. I don't have those. I've got a Beretta. That's what I got.
Affordable is all relative. It's all subjective for people.
And a pump action at 870 or a Benelli or whatever will kill ducks and break targets just as well.
It shoots pellets out of the barrels also.
Yes, it will. So you kind of find it's like I love fine bolt action rifles, and I love really gorgeous wood, and I understand. Synthetics actually perform better.
Right.
I get it. But I don't know what it is. I just love it. And I'm willing to pay a little bit more, although they've gotten kind of crazy in prices there too. So,
yeah. But there's definitely gun culture in most places of the world. Mm-hmm. There is a gun culture, and America is probably number one.
Oh,
when it comes to guns on Earth. We are number one. We're number one.
What do they say? 417 million guns is the most recent survey.
417 million guns
in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to say I think we used to think it was about 300 million.
Yeah, it's higher. We always thought it was probably higher.
Yeah.
And also something on the order of 32 to 40% of the people own a gun, which is so just call it a third.
But I still wonder, and these researchers are pretty sharp, and they figure out how to try to get accuracy from these surveys they do. But I would think that, you have all these different answers that you can, do you have any guns in the home? And that's a yes or no. The number one answer is screw you, and they hang up.
None of your business.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's kind of like, oh, okay, well.
So and that's a good question. How do you get accurate information from people who say, I'm just not going to answer you? Or am I even lie to you?
Or they lie. Yeah.
No, I don't have any guns.
No.
That famous boating accent,
Yeah. I've seen one now that said, it's like I haven't had any boating accidents. And it's basically like, yeah, I own a lot of guns.
I own a lot of guns. I'm proud of it. I'm not going to hide. Yeah. I always thought the boating accident thing was silly anyway. It's like, because if you have to hide them, then they actually got them anyway.
Right.
You can't
bury my guns. Well,
then they got them.
Yeah. Good.
They took them away from you, didn't they?
Go bury your guns.
Yeah. So no. How about getting involved right now? Which brings me to, I'm going to get my little soapbox here.
Absolutely.
We're making a lot of headway on gun rights, but in a lot of places we're losing. And the places where we're losing is because a lot of us think that posting something on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram is actually being an activist, and it's not. It's just you might as well go out in the parking lot and scream for all the good you're doing. If you are unwilling to show up, physically show up, if you're unwilling to make phone calls often, not just one or two when things are hot, but often, then we're going to lose.
Because the anti-gun side, they're very organized, they're funded, and they're committed.
And I would suggest that everybody who's listening to this go join, get on the mailing list of the Moms Demand Action, Every Town for Gun Safety, and the Giffords, and see what they're doing. Get their emails, get their text, find out how often they're doing get-togethers, find out how often they're going to the legislature. Things that are happening that you are unaware of, and you're thinking, well, how could the legislature pass that? That's because they heard from those people 10 times for every time they heard from you.
Yeah. And it drives me crazy, exactly what you're saying about social media. Social media is an echo chamber.
Yes.
It's designed that way. Yes. They only show you your friend's stuff, and even some of that they don't show you.
And consequently, you think everybody thinks the way you do.
Right. Yeah. And that's why it's a great idea to deliberately go follow or like the page of the anti-gun side to see what's going on. Also, convincing people on social media is a waste of damn time because they don't influence laws.
Right.
They don't influence that stuff.
Showing up is it. Literally, physically showing up. Showing up and often means calling.
In a committee hearing at your state capitol.
Right. City council meetings.
City council meetings, school board meetings.
Being there where they can actually see you. They go, wow, look at that. There's 20 gun rights supporters here. We never had those people here before.
Yeah.
It makes a difference.
Because the legislators or the city council members, they're also in an echo chamber. And if they don't like guns, they have Facebook.
Yeah.
And they're like,
well,
everybody I know and everyone on my staff agree that AR-15s are bad.
Excellent point.
They don't know.
Yeah, they don't know.
Unless you show up and they're like, wait a minute, what? There's another opinion out here?
Yeah.
This is a common thing?
Get informed and get involved. Simple as that. Okay, we got off top of there. We were talking about guns and fun stuff.
I think that's a perfect way to kind of wrap this up. So, damn it.
Yeah.
Get motivated.
Get off your butt.
Get off your butt. Just look, make a call, make an email. Well, I can't do that all the time. Have you done it once?
You can do it
this year?
Once a month. Because once a month would be
once?
like bare minimum.
Have you been to your capital
once?
Ever?
Do you know what city it's in?
What's the capital? Find out when they're having hearings about gun stuff. And the way you do that is sign up for the mailing list, right? It's NRA, it's Second Amendment Foundation.
Your state gun rights group.
State group.
You must belong to that.
Yeah, because they'll keep you abreast of what's going on.
And then team up with somebody so that you go together. You're not doing it by yourself. Then it becomes interesting and fun.
Yeah.
To go with a buddy and do that stuff.
And I will say, it is interesting and fun to go.
It's like
frustrating sometimes.
It's like going to the zoo.
It
is a crazy. You want to just poke your eye out sometimes.
But you'll have stories.
Yes,
you'll have stories to tell if you go up there and you go, guys. You go back to the barbecue or whatever, and you go, or the range, your gun club. You won't believe what these idiots at the Capitol were saying about guns or these laws.
You also learn how things get done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when you're smart, when you actually make things happen, it's like, okay, we're going to have this committee meeting and we're going to have this vote on this thing, but the person who's going to vote against us, it's very close. We're going to make sure that a bill that he's introduced in another committee comes up for a vote at the same time. He's going to have to go over to this other committee. And when he leaves the room, we're going to call for the vote right here.
Yeah.
This is how things happen. This is how it gets done.
Playing chess, not checkers.
Yeah.
All right, cool. This is a good stopping point. Thanks for listening to this Gun Talk Nation, and we'll see you again next week.